Hello! Welcome back to my review series of Pokemon Journeys. So today we're going to be going through episodes 10 and 11 and we've got a lot to go through. So episode 10, Dragonite Paradise, Dragonair's Trial. So the episode starts off with everyone in the lab watching a news report about a Dragonite that saves the captain of a sinking ship, which is a pretty cool callback to a Pokedex entry about that. And when Ash shows interesting ones to meet one, Sakuragi tells him not many live in the wild, and there's rumours that there's an island of them. So Go compiles reports of all the Dragonite sightings, and it appears to all be in one area. Go decides to catch a dugong to ferry them to the location. In a real funny scene with what looks to be an ordinary catch, the dugong Go found keeps escaping all of Go's Pokeballs until the last one. When they're on their way to the island, they run into a female dugong, and Go's dugong falls in love. They head straight into a storm and get separated from each other. Dragonite show up to save them. So the Dragonite saved Ash and Go, but Go is out Pokeballs now. There's a Dragonair on the beach too. Ash offers Go his Pokeball, but Go tells him that he should use it. So Pikachu becomes friends with Dragonair. As they're shown around the island, some Dragonair are practicing Dragon Dance so they can fly. The Dragonair with Ash and Go looks upset, and Ash notices that. A Dratini also sheds its skin. So in a very relaxing scene that had some Sun and Moon vibes, to be honest, Ash and Go are sitting by the river talking about Pokemon, asking why Dragonite stands out so much from Dragonair and Dratini. And I love this scene so much. It's just some people living in a Pokemon world that are talking about the mysteries within it. At the beach, the Dragonite take off, leaving Dragonair behind. It can only just get off the ground, but it can't actually fly. So Ash has resolved to train it to be able to use Dragon Dance. And this is the Ash that I just love, man. He wants Pokemon to thrive and will do anything to help them out, even if they don't belong to him. So Ash puts his own Ash twist on it by ordering Pikachu to use Electro Web as a net, so he can bounce up and show Dragonair the mid-air movements for Dragon Dance. It doesn't work, and after getting electrocuted a few times, Dragonair joins in, and gets some of it down. Ash teaches it to spin, and it masters Dragon Dance. Dragonair goes and wraps itself around Ash. Dragonair feels something wrong, and while Ash plans to go on Dragonair, it's too slippery. Team Rocket were pretending to be shipwrecked and caught a Dragonite. As Ash and Go arrive, they call him the Gotcha Machine, and only one Pokeball this time. It's a Whale Lord. The waves caused by Splash are very dangerous, but Pikachu frees Dragonite. Everyone is launched apart when Wailord splashes again and again, and Ash is launched into the air. Dragonair tries to save him as he falls, but it's too slippery. Dragonair evolves into Dragonite to save Ash. The other Dragonite blasts off Team Rocket, so Ash says the cutest thing with Dragonite growing arms to protect others. The newly evolved Dragonite grabs and hugs Ash before they can go home. It wants to join Ash, and wow, this is absolutely amazing. Not only did this scene break the internet because it's Ash with a freaking Dragonite, but Ash's first team member in this series is a Dragonite. This is incredible. What? So back in the lab, Sakuragi decides not to publish the fact that the Dragonite Island exists, and it gets a hug from Dragonite. So this episode is pretty great. Obviously in this series we've had catching be a little less glorified, but this episode shows that in regards to Ash's catches, the old style is still in full force, and spoiler alert, it stays around for the other two catches so far. Ash wants to help Dragonair out of the goodness of his own heart, not because he wants to catch it, and it grows to love him and want to join him. It also teases that this anime is going to be next level. Ash is getting a freaking Dragonite first? What could this series have in store for us? Okay, well now we know it's the Pokemon World Championships, but it makes you excited for his goal at the time. It's really good. Episode 11, Kaharu, Yamper, and the occasional Gengar. So we start the Sakuragi household this episode, with Kaharu in the morning. We're introduced to her brother Sota and her mother Yoshino when she doesn't immediately wake up for school. So before tucking into breakfast, she's reminded to feed Yamper. Apparently Yamper only eats the food that Kaharu puts out according to Sota, and Yoshino even mentions that Kaharu acts the coldest to Yamper. Yamper does love Kaharu though, and on the way to the lab it licks her and jumps on her. So this is a really cool intro to the episode. It's more chilled out and just laid back. It's people just living their lives, and it lays out exactly how Kaharu and Yamper feel about each other. It is strange that apparently Kaharu acts the coldest, since we tend to see them getting along. But I guess that could just be relative and Yamper gets showered more love by everyone else. So Ash and Go are in the park, overlooking their Pokemon. Dragonite seems to be about to attack Cypher and Stantler, but before Go can do anything, Ash stops him, and it was just for a hug. Go's Tailo then tries to eat his Wurmples, and they all evolve into Free Cascoon. Okay, I think this is hilarious. It's such an obvious joke to make, but I just didn't expect it, and Go's reaction is so funny. So in the actual lab, the power goes out as Renji investigates. He encounters a Gengar. Yamper is sad to see Kaharu go to school, but the two boys were racing and say hi to Kaharu. When they offer to introduce her to Dragonite and the Cascoon, she says no and heads off to school. So Ash asks Go about Kaharu, and he says that she wasn't as cold as she was before now. In episode 1, she seemed very excited about the prospect of becoming a trainer, but now she isn't. I'm going to have a video about Kaharu's development out soon though, so stay tuned. Sakuragi and Kakuna enter the lab and find Renji. They feel cold in the air. Yampa, Pikachu and Scorbunny feel something too, so Yampa attacks, and reveals Gengar. Pikachu and Gengar battle each other, but Gengar vanishes after a thunderbolt. This Gengar seems to be a bit malicious. Cutting over to Kaharu, she's in school and is being asked about what her future dream is. She doesn't know what she wants to do, but everyone just assumes she wants to be a professor because her dad is one. She gets asked questions like, does she want to battle, which she's never done before? Does she hate Pokemon? Well, she doesn't think so. Does she even like Pokemon? She doesn't know. And in a really fantastic scene, Kaharu's mum shows up with her lunch and they talk about dreams and her future. Kaharu doesn't like that everyone assumes she must be good with Pokemon because of who her dad is. She asks her mum about it. Yoshino tells her in school she decided she wanted to be a mangaka, but she couldn't do it. Sakuragi approached her to convince her not to give up on her dream, and she became an illustrator. Kaharu assumes that this meant she became an illustrator because Sakuragi told her to, but her point was that he just had a point. He wasn't the one to decide what Yoshino did. Kaharu is only 10, she doesn't need to make that choice now. This is one of the best scenes in this show so far. Back at the lab, Ash and Go compete to see who can get Gengar first. Yampa gets hit with an Ice Punch in the fight, and Gengar retreats after a Shadow Ball fails. Sakuragi is monitoring the heat levels as a sudden drop will reveal where Gengar is. Kaharu returns to the lab. Gengar tries to attack her, but Yampa takes the hit. Ash and Go arrive to save her before it can hit her again, and they get caught in a Psychic. Yampa gets up and growls at Gengar. It doesn't obey Sakuragi's commands to use Spark, so Kaharu needs to order it to attack. And I really like that Yampa is so focused on protecting Kaharu that will only listen to her. It may be the family's Pokemon, but for all intents and purposes, it's hers if she likes it or not. So Kaharu remembers the words about Yampa loving her the most, and with motivation from Ash and Go, she orders Spark and Yampa launches Gengar out of the lab. The two share a hug. That night at home, Yampa is sleeping in Kaharu's bed with her instead of on the Pokemon bed on the floor. Gengar stands on top of the lab, ready to return. So, this episode was really great. The Kaharu and Gengar plot are really different, but they come together in a really satisfying way. Kaharu is unsure about what she wants from life, and how Pokemon will play a role in that, if at all. Yoshino is an ordinary person with an ordinary job, while her dad is a professor that even Professor Oak sees as a genius. She comes from two very different backgrounds, and something has soured her perception on Pokemon. As Go points out, she has changed. She isn't her dad, and she can't be expected to be. This episode feels like she has a potential future of Pokemon if she knows it or not. And the Gengar plot. We don't really have much in terms of its motivation for causing trouble at the lab, but we do find out in episode 16. Within the context of this episode anyway, Gengar comes across as downright evil. It attacks Renji for seemingly no reason, has no qualms in attacking other people and Pokemon. It's tough too, as it manages to clash attacks with Pikachu often. It does give Ash and Go something to do in this episode as they try to stop it. And then the two plots intersect, and they possibly serve as the first steps of Kaharu's journey. She has never battled before, and while there isn't much to this one, she still made her first command of a Pokemon, and is moved by Yampa's desire to protect her specifically. And in some fun visual storytelling, the start of the episode starts with Yampa in a Pokemon bed, separated from Kaharu physically, and at the end of the episode, they're together, really showing how far Kaharu's grown. This is a great episode.